approximately up to an hour.
The mic, please.
Are we on?
Yeah, we're on.
Okay. By 6:30 and earlier, if we get to it, we'll open for public comments or questions. And the other thing I want to say is that at our board retreat recently, we all agreed, I think, that we want to try to be more efficient and a little quicker about handling business. So I will be a little more directive about keeping the conversation focused on only one thing at a time.
Absolutely.
So first order of business, approval of May meeting minutes. You had them in your emails. Are there any questions or comments about the May minutes? Actually, could we have a motion? Because we could have a motion
I'll
and then
motion.
a discussion.
To approve it.
I second.
Cynthia, second. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the May minutes?
Aye.
Any opposed? None, okay. Chairperson's report. On May 11th, we had our second board training retreat facilitated by members, two members of Interfaith Works. We had had an earlier session in March, and then a interim session with the two people who weren't able to make that one. I have taken the results. We got a report from Interfaith Works on what we talked about at that meeting, and Pete Wilner synthesized what things we agreed on. And what I did is his report's probably about 4 pages long. And what I did is I'll forward that to the whole board so people can see his whole report. And then I edited it down to about 1 page, just the main conclusions. And I'll send that to you. It's basically done, but I'll send that to you, and we can talk about it next time. I think most of us were pretty clear that we, in general, felt good about the way we're acting as a team, as a committee, and that also we wanted to be a little more efficient, a little more focused, stay on task a little better, have fewer side conversations, and a few things like that. So I want to talk a little bit about that as a board and have us discuss how we want to apply those lessons. I'm going to skip over B and go to C on Chairperson's report, which says attendance requirements and bylaws. So one of the things I'd like to do, and we've talked about this several months ago, when we have someone join the board, what we'd like to do is have a 1-page document that describes this is what's expected as a board member. So, for example, we currently have a policy that says you're expected to show up for meetings. If you miss, whatever, I think we decided 3 in a row, you can't be on the board every month. I think we should reevaluate that. I think 3 in a row is a lot. But along with that, I'd like to see it specified in writing that you're agreeing to come to meetings, you're agreeing to be available for hearings, you're agreeing to do some level of volunteer work when we have public events, just so it's in writing when people join the board. So I'll draft that. I have some things in mind. I'll draft that and send it out again. So along with what we talked about from the retreat in terms of sort of expectations of how we act at meetings, I want to see if I can get that down to a 1-page document. And then if we all agree on it, it becomes policy. So I will work on that. Lastly, the ads for the Central Bus have been approved by the council, and I'll let Raynette talk about what the next steps are on that.
So we agreed to do 6 bus shelters, and we agreed to do 35 interior cars for the bus. We just need to confirm with Lamar that all the ones that we previously selected are okay. I'm still gonna work with the same group of people, so I'll still be in touch with Lori to finalize if Lamar says that a certain bus shelter is no longer available. But I did send an email letting her know it was approved, and she asked me when we would like to get the bus shelters done and the cards out, and I told her by July 1, and she said that's very doable. So we can be looking forward to our shelter signs to be up, and also our interior cars to be inside the buses beginning July 1. So I just wanted to let you know, and it's still for the same amount of $3,400 is the amount that we agreed upon with all of that. And then I'll share the map around the city so everyone can kind of travel around and see if you actually see them. In terms of those same bus signs, just as a side note, I asked our board member Priscilla to translate those signs into Spanish for us, and she has done that. And so then when we get to the West Side Cultural Festival, at some point in time, I believe it's in August or somewhere at the end of July, we'll have those available. I also spoke to the gentleman at the Spanish Action League and told him that we did that so that then they'll have them at the Spanish Action League as well as a way for us to communicate. She also translated our complaint form into Spanish as well. So we have those two documents moving forward, all based on this sort of project here. So that's enough about that.
Okay, so that's publicity. Now time for the administrator's report.
So in terms of activity reports, we have 2 cases that we're going to be reviewing in executive session. We have a total of 42 new cases that came in. We received 8 new cases in the month of May, and we're moving on to June now, receiving many cases in the month of June. In terms of our monthly financial report, you will see that inside the green documents in your folder with the amount of money that we are spending. As you recall, the budget ends at the end of this month, and the new budget for 2019-2020 begins July 1. So the figures and stuff that you see there are related to our current budget from 2018 to 2019. All right. And I did make case statistics in terms of the 2018 annual report. So in facilitating communication between the police department and the Citizens Review Board, we provided the police department with a copy of our 2018 recommendations. I was able to have a conversation with a member of the police department, Detective Russin, to discuss those 2018 recommendations. As you would recall, the CRB made recommendations related to the body-worn camera policy. We made recommendations related to school resource officers, SROs, but they're called something else, and the police department's manual. And we also made a recommendation with regard to mental health, dealing with individuals with mental health. So we made those policies. So we provided the police department with copies of those, and they provided us with feedback that I'll share with the board related to that. So our 2018 report, just to reiterate, the recommendations are what we produced in the year of 2018. So some of those were included in the body-worn camera policy, some of those were not, and we still have some things outstanding, and we'll continue to talk about those things. So the 2018 report I will publish on our website. Should be before the end of the month. I apologize for the delay, but in terms of trying to, do the communication piece between us and the police department, we felt that it was fair to share those with them before we publish them, and then to clarify the reason why, because when you look at the body-worn camera policy and our recommendations, you would say, oh, well, we tried to do that, or we included that with this statement, this is why this address, and it kind of looked a little funny. So we tried our best to clear that up as to why we put our recommendations that way. We still have outstanding cases from 2017. We still have outstanding cases from 2018. And we have currently cases for 2019. We are utilizing our private investigators. And I am continuing to complete cases due to, there's been a lot going on in the city currently. So we have 2 cases to review. So therefore, I'd like to take a moment to just read just the first portion of our ordinance to establish the purpose of the CRB. We know that the CRB has been mentioned in the media over the past couple of days or so, and so I would like the public to make sure that they understand what the purpose of the CRB is, and so we'll state that. So the CRB was established to have an open, citizen-controlled process for reviewing grievances involving members of the Syracuse Police Department and provide a non-exclusive alternative to civil litigation. In order to ensure public accountability over the powers exercised by the members of the Syracuse Police Department while preserving the integrity of the agency that employs them, citizens' complaints regarding members of the Syracuse Police Department shall be heard and reviewed fairly and impartially by the review board established in this section. So this is the review board, and this is what it was established for. To establish a citizens review board, the purpose was to hear complaints regarding the Syracuse police officers and the Syracuse Police Department. And we would maintain procedural due process safeguards to protect the rights of both police officers and individuals who come in contact with the Syracuse Police Department and its officers. And that last line is very important to discuss. We operate on strict confidentiality. That is the reason why we will never confirm nor deny whether or not a person has filed a complaint with our office. It takes a lot for people to file complaints with our office. Sometimes they are nervous as to the repercussions that may occur for filing a complaint. Sometimes they do not want to discuss what has happened to them because of what has occurred to them. So we want to make sure that the public understands the reason why the CRB operates and states that we will not confirm nor deny whether or not we have a complaint or not. I would just mention that we have, as a public, as a community, seen the video that has been circulating the media, and we believe that it's important to investigate allegations with regard to that. We have seen that the NAACP has mentioned the Citizens Review Board. We have seen that people have been tagging the Citizens Review Board, so I felt that it was necessary for you to understand the purpose of the CRB. Please feel free to call our office at any time. I can discuss this a little bit further with you and answer any questions that you may like. But we operate on strict confidentiality for those purposes. So, and moving forward with regard to that, I would like to conclude my report.
Okay, one question about the outstanding cases from 17 and 18. Since we last talked about it several weeks ago, have we gotten any more response from the police department about their progress in getting those cases to us?
So we have been receiving more complaints, more responses to complaints from the police department, so that list for the 2018 cases has dwindled down some since the last time that we had a meeting with the police liaison committee and the last time we addressed it. So it has been dwindling down, but we still have outstanding cases from 2017 and 2018.
Thank you. So you know, we can't finish investigations of cases until we get the information from the Office of Professional Standards. So there are cases as much as 2 years old, which we can't make decisions about having hearings. We can't have hearings, and we don't know why. We've asked the police department. The chief has committed to looking into that and to getting information to us and to getting those old cases to us. But we're still waiting for more specific information about those. Okay, committee reports, community outreach and public education.
I'd like to first talk about those events, and the reason is because we have several community outreach events that I would like for us to participate in the month of June. They are listed here, which is the Interfaith Works Duck Race. The cost for having a participation at the duck race, there's a nonprofit vendor fee of $100. And I'd like to see if the board would like to make a motion to approve payment of the $100 if you want to. We have provided them with at least an initial application to set up at the duck race, which is June 8th. And it's from 12 to 4 at the Inner Harbor. And I just want to know if you think as a board we can attend that event and have a table with participation, and if so, we would need to provide them with a $100 fee.
So, two questions. Do we have people that are available to do a table on Saturday afternoon? And if so, do we want to
Right.
approve that motion? So, do we have people that are available anytime from 12 to 4 to do a 1, 2, 3-hour shift? How many people might be available for a part of that time?
This Saturday, June the 8th.
I'm walking for Onondaga votes.
Okay. So that would be one person? No.
You what?
Walking for Onondaga
Oh,
votes.
okay. So you're not.
I'm not available.
I could do some, but I'm not gonna do 4 hours. Dana, did you say?
I can do some, absolutely.
So that's Peter and Dana. Anybody else?
I got, AVP training on that day right there, the 8th,
So that would be no?
for that day right there, but, any other,
All right.
any other outreach, I'll be available.
Okay, so far we got myself, Peter, and Dana that are available.
I could do 2 hours.
You can do 2 hours?
2 hours.
Okay. So I think that is enough to
Why don't
kind
the 4
of,
of us work out our schedule
okay.
after the meeting?
All right, so I would, go ahead and let them know that they could be expecting a check. So unless you guys still have to make a motion so that we can approve the, getting a check. So somebody has to make the motion
Okay.
and then,
I make a motion that we participate in the duck race
and pay $100 for the
and
fee.
pay $100
I'll second
for the
Second,
privilege.
Cliff. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? All in favor.
Okay, moving on to June 15th, 2018. We have the Juneteenth parade and festival. If we're gonna participate in the parade, which I intend to do, we have to be at the Dunbar Center at 10 o'clock in the morning for the parade to start at 11 o'clock, heading from Dunbar downtown. Please advise if you are available to attend the parade and time. We've already submitted the application as well with regard to Juneteenth, and are you available to table?
I'll be available to table.
Okay, so we got Cliff.
I have a question. You said it starts at the Dunbar?
It starts at Dunbar heading downtown to, what is that square?
Clinton?
Clinton Square.
Okay.
They march downtown.
So you could meet us at Clinton Square to sit at the table for a period of time, and I would be able to come down there early to help set up and things of that nature, so you could man the table while we march down the street, if that's something that you are.
I'll agree to, be at the table.
Okay,
And I'll be able to come and relieve.
okay, anybody else?
What's the hours for all day for the table?
The hours are from 12 to 4:30. So we can kind of split it up if we get enough people, kind of thing. An hour apiece, somewhere around there, so you can still have time to, mix and mingle throughout the day. So there is a nonprofit vendor equivalent fee of $100. I'm not sure, we kind of may need to pay that or not, so just put in the, if you're gonna make a motion, put in the motion, if we need to pay a fee, we'll pay the fee.
I'll make a motion that if we need to pay the fee,
Okay. That we pay the fee with regard to Juneteenth? Okay,
And I second the motion.
okay.
Any further discussion?
And just to be clear, so Cliff and I are gonna start it up. You're gonna meet us there eventually. And was there anybody else?
Do you want me to meet you at the parade?
Yeah, if you meet
Okay.
me at the parade, so Dana will
Okay.
meet me at the parade. Okay. All right, next on the agenda, June.
I'm out.
Sorry,
All in favor?
sorry.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passed unanimously.
All right, moving on to the next day, Pride Parade. So the Pride Parade is on June 22nd. It's at the Syracuse Inner Harbor. The Human Rights Commission has agreed to allow us to have material at the table. I would say that, we could walk around the event and circulate the event because the vendor fee is $200, and that's a little bit much.
You said the 22nd or the 23rd?
The 22nd. But I think that it would be a good idea for us to at least have somebody at her table, you know what I mean, talking about the CRB, just in case somebody has questions, but
Do you have a time on that?
the parade so the parade starts at noon, the festival begins at 1, from 1 to 5. So we've always had material there at Pride, and I think that we should continue to do that. But then I definitely think that we should have some faces from the CRB at the Human Rights.
I'll volunteer to be at the table.
So that's Cliff,
I could be at the table for an hour.
and that's Ruth,
I can do it.
and that's Lori. Okay. I will not be in attendance at that event. I have a graduation that I need to attend, and a graduation party that I need to prepare.
So we should decide what times
That
we
was
are
the
there.
20, because on the
It's
It's the
calendar,
22nd.
It's the 22nd.
showing on the 24th, so it's on the 22nd.
Yes, it's June 22nd.
Okay.
All right, next event.
So we don't need a motion.
We don't need a motion for that one.
Hops,
I guess there's more here.
Let's just take care of this
Okay.
one first.
Next next one is June 29th, World Refugee Day Festival. It's gonna be at, Lower Schiller Park, and it's from 12 to 5 p.m. There is a non-commercial vendor fee of $50. And they provide you with a table and 2 chairs and a large tent with a bunch of other organizations. There's gonna be, so that one is from 12 to 5. Any volunteers for that? I know I'll be there all day for that one.
I didn't hear the date on that. What's the date on that?
The 29th of June. So we got Lori,
I could be there for an hour.
Ruth,
Hour.
May.
And where is it at?
It's at Schiller Park, Lower Schiller Park.
I can do a couple hours.
All right, and Cliff,
I can too.
and Dana.
So
All
we
right,
have,
so I need a motion with regard to the vendor fee of $50. So can someone make a
Make a
motion?
motion for.
Lori made a motion to spend $50 for
I'll
World
second it.
Refugee Day. Cliff seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passed unanimously.
One more event, say that, yep.
Hops tomorrow?
Yep, that's what I'm about to talk about. So one more event, we got invited to attend an event at Hops Church tomorrow from 6 to 9. I'm unable to attend that. I'm not sure what the event is. I just was asked if the CRB could be present, tomorrow from 6 to 9 at Hops Memorial Church, which is on Montgomery and State
No,
State
Bert.
Street, it's straight.
Montgomery and State Street, between the hours of 6 to 9. I can't attend. I'll be at the World Refugee Day meeting because I'm helping to organize that. So, anybody available tomorrow, June 7th, there's no vendor fee. It's free.
I don't know what it is.
It's from 6 to 9, and I just was asked if we could attend. Anybody available June 7th?
Attend in what capacity?
Attend and sit at the table. They said, would we have a table there? So tomorrow from 6 to 9 at Hops. Going once? Anybody available?
No, ma'am.
Can't do everything.
I got 3 days of training.
So that looked like a
Looks like nobody is
little
available.
tight for that one? Okay, I will,
Last minute notice.
I will,
Right.
I will let her know. Okay, so
Try
we.
to attend something else that she may be concerned about.
Okay, all right, so the last event that, there is a annual, Americans with Disabilities Act rally and parade. That is gonna be on July 24th. There is no fee. It is a indoor rally at 10 and the parade at 11. It's free. There's no tabling opportunity, but we get to walk with our banner. So let me know if anybody's able to attend. July 24th would be from 11. Well, the indoor rally starts at 10. The parade is from 11 to 11:45, and then you kind of just hang out and mix and mingle a little bit. July 24th.
That's a Wednesday?
Yes.
I can probably do that.
Also, we forgot, Beecham Library.
Yep, I'm
On
gonna
the
get to that
20th.
one. Then you gonna talk about that one, sorry. July 24th. Anybody?
Maybe.
Besides Peter? Lori said, and Peter with a question mark.
10 to 11.
All right, I will be able to attend that one.
45.
I gotta get through June first.
I know.
I know.
Who is doing the rally?
It's the Americans with Disabilities Act rally. It's for Arise. It's right down at the atrium. It's downtown, downtown Syracuse, right at the atrium, right in where our office is, right in that little area. That's where it starts.
I might be
Never
able
seen that
to,
last year.
And,
I might be able to sneak out and
Dana?
do that.
okay? All right,
And I'm sorry, did you say the time, Raynette?
the indoor rally is at 10 a.m. and the parade starts at 11, and it's from 11 to 11:45. It's just a walk, and then you kind of come back. It's almost like you make a loop. And then there's a mix and mingle time thereafter. We participated in it last year.
11:45.
All right, so Cliff might be able to attend?
Yeah, I'll be able to attend that.
Okay. All right, last year we walked with our banner and we got to kind of circulate just talking about information, so I think that it's important. All right, last and final June event is June 27th, Cliff? June 27th at the downtown library. We will, South Salina Street.
In Colvin.
South Salina and Colvin. We will have a tabling event at that time, right down there, passing out some material. It's from 3 to 5. Anybody available for that?
I'll be available.
I can be there
All right, Ruth,
at Beecham Library.
Beecham Library.
Beecham Library.
Yes, we're gonna have a
Inside.
table right there in the lobby, and we'll be distributing all of our information pertaining to Know Your Rights and Citizen Review Board.
All right, there's no fee for that, so no motion needed for that one. And we look forward to, if you can attend, it's from 3 to 5. So far I got Ruth, Cliff, and myself. All right, that concludes that should include all the events that I have.
I just have a question in regards to the events that we anticipate attending. Do you know if our shirts are gonna be ready at that time?
I will follow up with them because they should be available. I'm not sure if they should be available. I'll follow up. Thanks for the reminder.
No problem.
But
Okay.
yes, the shirts have been approved. APO went out to them, so we all have shirts. So, look forward to everybody looking uniformed and spiffy the next time. We have t-shirts and we also have collared polo shirts with just the CRB symbol on the front, and the t-shirts have a little bit more writing, so I look forward to that. So, I will follow up with the Good Life the Good Life Youth Foundation did the shirts for us. I think it's called G&L Printing. So I will follow up on the shirts. Okay.
Okay, board developments and training, no new news. As I said earlier, I'm gonna follow up with the information that we came up with and the intentions about structuring meetings and obligations for people, so we'll follow up on that. We have no more board development events scheduled. Government relations?
So I did meet with, I think it goes under government relations, maybe police relations. We talked about the meeting that I had with Detective Russin with regard to the 2018 recommendations. With regard to the police liaison committee, we are still working through another date for all the board members that are on the police relations committee to meet. So check your emails and to be able to get that date as soon as I get it.
Okay. New business.
Ask if there's any community organization.
Yeah, are there any community organizations in attendance that would like to speak and tell us about their organization? Okay, we're going to move to our public comment section. Again, for people who haven't been here before, you can ask any question, make any comment. Generally, the board does not do much in terms of responding to questions. We cannot respond to any questions about any particular cases, about whether or not we have received complaints or are acting on any complaints. You're free to talk about anything you want, and any member of the public can have up to 5 minutes to speak. And we promise to listen. So who would like to speak? Hi.
Hi, my name's Sequoia. Hi, Miss Mary. Hi, Renette. I'm here on behalf of my community, but I also organize with Black Lives Matter Syracuse, and I'm also a leader with Unchained, where we do criminal justice work and awareness and supporting people who are victims of state violence. And so I just wanted to know what the CRB's role in holding cops accountable. And from what I've learned is that you all make recommendations to do further investigations of misconduct, excessive force, and then you give these recommendations to either the chief of police or the DA, just correct me if I'm wrong, and then they are the ones who make the final decision as to whether the cops will be have charges brought up against them for excessive force, or whether any form of discipline will be done to them. So I just wanted to know mainly what your role is and how your positions work to hold accountable police officers who we know are brutalized in our communities. That's my main
Yes.
question.
Thank you. Everything you've said is correct as far as it goes. The CRB basically functions in order to hear complaints from citizens who believe they are the victims of police misconduct, not just excessive force. So it could be excessive force, it could be improper demeanor, it could be racial profiling, could be false arrest, could be a number of other possible things. The CRB, the way the process works is our office, Raynette is the office administrator. She takes complaints, does an investigation, so hears from the complainant, sometimes hears from witnesses, gets medical records, gets other witness statements, gets other documentation, gets videos. And then we as a whole board will look at Renette's report on the initial investigation. And so after you leave an executive session, we'll be looking at some cases that we got in our email earlier this week. And we'll make decisions about each of those cases and whether they need to go to a hearing. So we may say, there's nothing here, this one's not going to a hearing, or there's not enough evidence, or this can't possibly be sustained. Or we may say, this is something we need to hold a hearing. If we do, we'll appoint a 3-member hearing panel, schedule a hearing, invite the complainant, come in and get any other evidence. What happens after that, as you said, we make recommendations. It's up to the chief whether or not to discipline police. It's extremely rare anywhere across the country for CRBs to actually have the power to discipline police. But there's something we do besides make recommendations about discipline in individual cases. The CRB makes recommendations on a larger scale based on what we see in our cases, so that I believe it started in 2012, before any of us were on the board. The first year, the CRB recommended that the Syracuse Police Department revise and update its use of force policy. And they were very specific. About 2014 or 15, there were a long set of very specific suggestions about what an effective use of force policy would consist of in terms of policy, training, and supervision. So the police departments had that for 3 or 4 years. We asked the new chief to please pay attention to that recommendation. and he's agreed to do that. Whether it's because of our recommendation, whether the mayor's office hired him with the condition that he do that, or whether he decided to do that, we don't know. The police department is currently engaged in a review of the use of force policy with the intent to revise and update it. We don't know. We do know that our recommendations are being considered by the groups that doing that. We don't know their timeline. What we expect, based on what we saw with the body-worn camera policy, which is now in effect, is that at some point, a revised use of force policy will be presented to the Common Council at a meeting of the Public Safety Committee of the Common Council, a public meeting. And there would be the opportunity for questions by counselors at that point. So one thing that citizens can do is talk to their common councilors and find out when that new use of force policy will be presented and what opportunities there might be for counselors to question it. Is that helpful in terms of your concerns?
Yes, I do have one more question.
I was gonna talk briefly about the part where you asked about, we do have the ability to, so once a case has been, a hearing has been held on a particular case, we do have the opportunity to send that case over to the DA's office for the DA's office to further look into that particular case to make an assessment as to whether or not they will file charges against the particular officer or officers involved. Again, based upon strict confidentiality, we would not share that we sent that over to the DA's office, but typically we've seen in the past that the DA's office has held some sort of press conference or something related to it. So then the public usually knows. But that is why we don't typically, we won't state that we send a public bulletin stating that we've referred it to the DA's office. Does that help?
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
The reason why I'm here is because this is my third year. I moved back to Syracuse in 2016 after college. This is my third year having to do this type of work where people out, we get our inbox full of people saying that this is the police are doing these things. They're raiding our house. They're rough housing us. They are not reading our rights. There's a lot of corruption that's happening. And so what I'm trying to understand is when people come to CRB, they make their complaint. You all do your investigation. How is the community ever supposed to know that these cops are facing anything? I've had conversations with the former chief, and he's saying, well, we're not able to tell what the repercussions are, but how does that tell the community that these cops who are repeatedly harming us are actually being held accountable? And this might be not be a question that you guys can answer. I'm just trying to better understand what type of power that our legal system, our councils, our board has to really try to mitigate these situations, because again, it's my third year having to do this work, and so it's just tiring and frustrating.
So I would say that the power that the people have is to file a complaint with the Citizens Review Board.
Okay.
One, because unless someone makes a complaint with regard to the particular incident, nobody's going to know that the incident occurred. Just making a complaint at the police department, I would suggest that if you made a complaint at the police department, that you call the CRB office and let the CRB know that you have filed a complaint. Or come directly to the CRB office to file a complaint, so that then someone is aware that the incident occurred. We do know that there are times when people talk about it amongst themselves. It gets on Facebook, but no one, until a formal complaint is filed with the Citizens Review Board, no one, I wouldn't say no one is looking at it, but we can't hold them accountable to do any sort of investigation into these officers unless that happens. There is a Rule 50A that talks about that instance, so look that up. It's 50A, and that is the reason why they don't release the information with regard to the discipline that occurs to a particular officer. So now we, as the board, are entitled to know if we make a recommendation to the police department after a case has been sustained. We are provided with the information to know whether or not a officer is disciplined or not. But because of 50A, we can't share that to the public. But in our annual reports, we will usually list how many responses to the findings letter we have received from the police department. We will identify in that report what if the police department, how many times they've agreed to our findings, and we'll state what sort of discipline we've been advised of. It will not be in the case summary section as to not tie it to a particular case, but you will be able to see whether or not a officer has been disciplined. It just won't be specifically stated that this case occurred and this is what happened to this particular officer, because if you are a complainant and you're looking at our report, you would be able to know when the scenario sounds similar to your case, and that's the way that we do that.
So the individual who filed the complaint will never be able to
So the individual that filed the complaint is always provided with a copy of the findings letter that we recommend. Now, in terms of the police department letting the complainants do receive a letter that basically tells them that an investigation has been started, and they tell them whether or not the case is, they give them, the police department does send them 2 letters. One, that the case has been received and is being investigated, and that their case is closed or whatever. So the complainant is receiving that. Now,
Okay.
whatever the complainant chooses to do after that point in time in terms of sharing it, our findings letter, or sharing what they received from the police department, that's on them. But you will never hear the CRB do that, because if we do that, when we talk about bridging the gap between the community and the police department, they wouldn't look at us and share that information so freely. So I would say that I get your point in terms of how come the community won't know as a whole that this particular officer was suspended for this incident or things of that nature. But if the complainant files a complaint, they at least get a response.
Okay. My other thing was about safety. So if I were to file a complaint against the cop can see that it was myself who filed the complaint?
That is correct. And the reason why we have to do that is in order for us to get the police reports with regard to that incident, we have to notify the police department that that person has filed a complaint so that we can get that. Now, I will tell you, if after you file a complaint, if that particular officer that you know you filed a complaint against starts harassing you, starts doing anything with regard to that, you should contact the CRB immediately and let the CRB know that that is occurring.
Okay.
And then I'll make the appropriate telephone calls about that. If anybody finds that, if you feel like that happens, that's something that you gotta let us know. If you keep it to yourself, I won't ever know, and I won't know to make that telephone call.
Okay.
So it's important that, that's why we're here. We're there so that you can continuously tell us. It doesn't matter how many times you file a complaint. If you have an incident, it's important to get to our office immediately, because as time goes on, you forget certain details about stuff. And it's better for you to file a complaint as quickly as possible with all the details, be as detailed as possible. If you have instances in your community, in your area, where you feel that particular cops are acting in a certain manner, write down the time, write down the street, write down the badge number, send it to us, let us know. I mean, we can only be as effective as the community is utilizing us. So we're available here. You can send us an email, crb@syrgov. Tell us what it is. You can call the office, tell us what it is. And I can forward that information for people to look at, but in order to do an official investigation into it, you have to file a complaint.
Okay, another question, I'm done, promise. So if the person knows their last name, so if they don't know their full officer's name, because this is a common occurrence where we know the last name of an officer, but we don't know the first name, are they able to give you the information? You guys can find out who the officer is?
I can find out who the officer is as long as you give me a date, a time, place, where it is. If it's even just the car number, as long as you give me something to work with, we can be able to find out who was in that area at that point in time.
Okay, all right,
Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your questions. Anybody else have any questions or comments for CRB?
So I say all the questions that you asked were very relevant. Share this information. We are being live streamed on YouTube. Make sure you can tell people to look at the YouTube. It's the same one that comes up for every Common Council meeting. You can review this. We have some informational material on the back table for you to take it. We're here for you, and we like to be as effective as possible, but we need you coming to us to tell us what's going on and expressing your concerns.
We're not kidding ourselves that the system we have is an effective one. We know there are severe limits on what the CRB can do and what happens with citizen complaints. That's pretty much true in most systems. We're hopeful, and we've had conversations over the last year with the mayor's office, with the common councilors, with the public safety committee, and the new chief has agreed to do some things that the department is required to do that haven't been done in a while. One is to forward all cases to us, as we mentioned a little while ago, which was not being done. One was to reestablish the police liaison committee. And we've talked to the Public Safety Committee of the Common Council. They know what our concerns are. And as Renette said a few minutes ago, we're setting up meetings. We've had an initial meeting with the Police Liaison Committee. My hope is that over time, if there are occurrences like you're talking about, where things keep happening over and over, sometimes the same officers, we'll be aware of that, and we can share that information with the Police Liaison Committee. We can make sure the chief knows about it. There's limits on what we can say publicly, but we're hopeful by putting these systems in place, as well as the new use of force policy, that we will be able to make some difference, and we'll keep trying. So thank you for your concern. Keep asking.
And also, we look forward to having a public safety meeting at some point in time too, to address some of these concerns publicly. We would encourage the public to attend that public safety committee meeting, express the concern, that you have with regard to their compliance with the CRB, what you think would be, to your common counselor, a more effective CRB, if you want to say that, or, things that you think, would help assist. Express those, because the CRB exists because the public said that they wanted it. And the common council heard what the public had to say, and that's how we are here. In order for us to be, in order for any legislation to change and things of that nature, it needs your support. So come to the CRB meetings, talk at the mic, just like you said that Sequoia did. Talk and tell us what's going on in your community, so that they know that the CRB is welcome here, wanted here, and so that they, you continue to show support, so that they know that that's the reason why.
Any other?
I have one more board business, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So, I apologize, one more board business. In the folder, you'll see the Bousquet-Holstein bill for legal services. We need to make a motion to approve the Bousquet-Holstein bill. You should have it in your folder, so I can pay the legal bill.
I make a motion that you pay the Bousquet-Holstein bill in the amount of $450.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's carried unanimously. Any other comments or questions from the public or the press? Thanks for coming, everybody. I'll take a motion to move to executive session to discuss specific cases. Motion, please.
I make a
I'll
motion.
make a motion.
Cliff makes a motion, May seconds it. This meeting is now